Hi everybody, welcome to Yoga with Anadil. I am Anadil. Thank you for joining me today for our yoga tutorial, which is refining our Warrior I pose, Virabhadrasana, named after the mythical Hindu warrior who did battle, universal battle with things like ignorance. So in honour of that, we're going to break down this standing posture, which is energizing. It works to strengthen into the ankles, through the legs, it opens out through the hips, as well as strengthening and creating mobility in the shoulders and arms. So we'll begin by standing and taking the feet wide. So there are very traditional strides to take, one being that the ankles rest directly underneath the wrists. But I would say just start in a place that's comfortable, perhaps not too wide to begin with, until you get a feel for how your body feels most comfortable in this pose. So with our feet hip distance, wide, we'll rest the hands onto the hips at the moment because I'd like us to concentrate on what's going on with our feet and our legs and our hips before we think about lifting on up with the arms. So to begin with, we'll lift through our left toes and just pivot them inwards slightly, so you're slightly pigeon toeing, just to a place that's comfortable. And this just helps us to prepare for swiveling over to the right hand side. So we're now going to pick up our toes of the right feet, pivot on the heel, and spin your toes out so they're facing out to the short side of your mat, to the right hand side. And we'll just take a moment to spread the toes here and pick up the arches of the feet. And lift the heel so that your knee is stacking over the ankle, and then once you have this opening at the hip, then you drop that heel. Now by doing this, your knee can be straight for now. By doing this, you may start to feel a little bit of rotation in the hips. So in Warrior I, the hips are aiming towards the front of the mat. But this may not feel right for everybody. So whilst we're rotating through towards those toes, you may start to feel pressure in the hips, maybe in the knee, maybe in the ankle. So what I would suggest first of all is lift up that back heel and pivot that heel out a little bit more so that you're bringing the rotation of the hips from the very ground upwards. Now what this may do is start to feel a little bit uncomfortable in your knee. If that's the case, you have two things that you can try to alleviate any real pressure in the joints, in the knees and the ankles. One is to shorten your stride, so you can hop that in. So you can hop that in and just see how that feels for you, and then just keep working towards your hips, towards the direction of your toes to the right. Or you can actually, as well as taking a shorter stride, you can take your feet wider. So we're not having feet that are standing on a tightrope, we're having feet that are standing on tracks. Now those tracks are traditionally hip distance apart, but again this may not work for everybody. So feel free to take your feet wider if it creates more space and stability in your hips, knee and ankle. So once you have that positioning and you're feeling nice and comfortable there, then you just find a place to root through the back foot as best as you can, again without pressure into the joints, particularly the knee, and you keep working your hips towards, so you're leveling your pelvis towards the right hand side facing the same way as your toes. And then you begin to bend into this knee, which extends and stretches out this, particularly at the back of this leg, into the ankle through the hamstrings. So you go slowly, so breath in, and as you breathe out, you move alongside the breath, bending that knee just to see where your body starts to resist. Making sure that knee is as stacked over your ankle as much as possible. That just keeps the joints nice and stable and nice and safe. Now traditionally, again, textbook is that the knee is stacked over the ankle completely. But if you're away from that for now, please don't worry. Just stay in a place that's most comfortable and stable for you, where you feel grounded, where you feel you're strongest. And in time, this will move as your practice does. So from here, we rest the hands onto the hips for the moment, and we just draw the pelvis a little bit more level. And again, this may change the activeness in the legs, so just be mindful of that. Keep remembering to bend into that knee to wherever it's comfortable for you. Try, especially if you're new to this pose, try not to let that knee travel past the ankle, because it might overextend in the back ankle and the knee and put more pressure on the knee, but also it's just a little bit less stable. If you're well practiced and you're very comfortable with that, then a little bit over is fine. Then from here, we have the leg position nice and stable now, and we're leveling through the hips. We're drawing the navel in towards the back, and we're lifting through the heart as you breathe in and out, dropping through the shoulders. So think about your shoulder blades moving together a little bit and down your back. And we'll keep the chin nice and raised, but you look on the ground for stability to begin with. Now the arms are raised in Warrior One, so what we'll do today is pick up that playful balloon in between our hands, so the palms are facing in, and you lift that balloon. So you're still leaning low into the front knee as you lift on up. So there's grounding in the feet, there's energizing through the quads, the tailbone is staying long, so you're not arching through the back. The navel is hugging in, you're lifting through the heart, and you're gently hugging the heart in towards your back. So there's no real passiveness in the spine. It's nice and active and strong, and you lift. If you're feeling stable, your gaze can move from the ground up towards the sky without the collapsing in the back of the neck. Now, if there's any arm concerns or shoulder concerns, you have options to keep them rested here. You have options to keep your elbows bent and low, and you can take them wide or up or even together. Seal the hands, interlace the fingers. So you have lots of variations in the arms. So let's ease off that, hands on hips, and pivot around. And you can take a moment to just ease all of that off. And we'll do the same on the other side. So whenever you're ready, and you can take a pause in this video and take a rest as you begin to get more familiar with the refinement of purifying this pose. So we'll work on the other side now. So we're standing with our feet wide, and we'll first of all pivot through the right toes. So we pick up the right toes and just move them inwards, so we're pigeon-toeing slightly, so that when we lift our left toes, the hips have space to move along. So the left toes are now pivoted all the way out to your left-hand side, as much as is available to you. And you see how that begins to feel in your hips. So you begin to bend this left knee, making sure that it's not falling inwards too much. So press the feet equally through the inner and outer edges as you bend through. And then you'll begin to feel if you need any adjustment. If there's any real torquing in your arches of the feet even, the heels, the knees, anywhere. in the hips, you pick up that back heel and you pivot that foot out to help the hips level towards the left hand side. Now, by pivoting, you may find that your heel doesn't rest comfortably on the earth, in which case you just hop it forward a little bit to a place that you can. And by the same token, if that doesn't take any pressure out, we'll take the feet wide. So have an exploration, which is what yoga is all about, into the foundations that work best to support you. And then when you have that, we work the hips level, we bend into that knee, being mindful of not traveling too far past the ankle, but just bend into it, pick up the quads, and then once you're feeling nice and strong and grounded, energizing from the root up, we level through the hips, keeping any compression out of the small of the back, lift through the heart, and then we can think about the arms. So you can take whichever option you like to lift this pose, this warrior one, into your strongest stance. So that could be sealing through the hands together, looking up, looking forward, looking down, or you can take your arms wide if it helps your shoulders, cactus arms, or you can always take this option without the shoulders if you have any concerns around the shoulders and the neck. And you breathe. So you soften through the jaw, you soften through the face, maybe even smile. And you feel your power, your strength in conquering this posture. And be mindful of flaring through the ribs. Just make sure your spine is nice and strong by pulling into the core. And to come out of this, you can lift the back heel, pivot your foot to 90 degrees. You can split the arms, pivot both feet so that you're on the long side of the mat. Bring your hands on hips, and you can heel toe to come to standing and shake it out. So I hope this has helped you to get more comfortable in finding your warrior one. All our bodies are different, so the foundations of the guidelines are there for you to work with to find what's best for you and what feels strongest for you. And if it has, please do give this video a thumbs up, and if you'd like to see more, Warrior 2 is coming up next time. Please do subscribe so that you don't miss future videos. Thank you for practicing with me and refining your pose.